We're back. It's more X-Men because they dropped another X-Men 97 episode, so I'm dropping another X-Men film review, and it's time to talk about Dark Phoenix. So this is a second look at Dark Phoenix. So happy to do this one. But you know what? I got a surprise for you. This is on Disney Plus, and it has audio description. Somewhere between the first X-Men and X-Men Dark Phoenix, they started adding audio description. Probably a Dark Phoenix, but it is an X-Men film on Disney Plus with audio description. So, I feel like we've made some sort of progress. Um, this is described by Deluxe with Nicole Sansorella. So, and it doesn't, it's not a fun film. This is not a film that anybody, I don't know what Simon Kinberg was doing here. He was like, I've produced the other film, so I should be able to direct one. Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the logic. Um, yeah, there's the lack of any fun cameos or anything like that. We've got like Dazzler in here. I totally forgot Dazzler was in this. Just be honest, I don't even remember if she's mentioned in the audio description. I looked at the credits afterwards just to see whether or not there was anybody who was described, because there's the one mutant with like uh a dreadlocks or whatever that never gets named. But there aren't any in the credits that are like, ooh, it's this, that was so and so. Just browse through IMDb real quick, and the only like lower tier quick cameo was Dazzler. I'm like, did they say her name? I'm not sure. Uh, it's my second time watching the film. I'm not a huge fan of this film. It's battling with X-Men Origins Wolverine for probably my least favorite thing, because it's like it knows what the Dark Phoenix saga is better than The Last Stand, but then it's like somebody was like, no, I can do better than that, and then tried to basically write the same thing, but in a way that would make it seem like it was an original concept. Like they were trying to like change things about, like, they do go to space, so kudos. This time she actually does catch the Phoenix instead of the Phoenix always being inside of her. So, there's a little bit of that. But um yeah, it's just not really, I don't know what Jessica Chastain is doing in this movie. Honestly, I don't her like alien race coming there, and they're well described. I'll give Deluxe and Nicole props for that. When they originally land, they, at that party and people can see them, the description is good of what they initially look like, but which just makes me wonder, like, why did you create this? Like, why? They're neither Shi'ar or Brood. So, like, would have made more sense if they were Brood, because they seem to originally be shaped sort of like the Brood that were featured throughout the X-Men comics, which were they're a little too close, honestly, to Ridley Scott's Aliens. But this is supposed to be the Shi'ar. This is where Xavier meets Landra, who becomes actually quite a big part, as we're learning in X-Men 97, of X-Men lore, and we dodge her yet again. Moira McTaggart is just, I don't know what happens. They just bring her in and out as needed, on an as need basis, because she's absent from this film. So it totally could have freed up Charles meeting Lalandra, and actually having some semblance of normalcy in this film. They I don't know. I don't know what's good about this film. I really like the scene between Michael Fassbender and Sophie Turner at the very beginning when she goes to him, even though there isn't a lot of purpose behind it. But I just love that he just keeps asking her, "Whose blood is this?" Because he thinks that there's a solid chance that the answer to that question is not one that he's gonna like, you know, because there are people that he cares about that she's around, and you know, I don't think he knows that it's Raven, but at the same time, you know, there's that. He doesn't know whose blood it is, and you can hear it in Michael Fassbender's voice. And it's a really good scene, as opposed to the worst acting of Nicholas Holt's career and James McAvoy. There's a scene after the funeral between the two of them, and it's just god awful. It's like neither one of them wanted to do that scene. I don't know. It's both of them have turned in way better acting that is way more emotional than that, and that scene has nothing to it, and they're trying to say these words and have this emotional connection, but there's nothing there. It lacks anything. I don't know. It's actually, I love Nicholas, and I think he's a great actor, and I think he's always been since I think I first saw him on About a Boy. Just fantastic that his career has continued on like this, and I think James is a solid and underrated actor who likely missed his only shot at an Oscar nomination for Last King of Scotland. But maybe he'll get one later on. I don't know. We'll see how his career goes. They're really fine actors. That scene is terrible. It's just the line readings just they don't go anywhere. They don't hit. Nobody actually feels any emotional connection to that. The scene is well audio described with like everybody's facial reactions, like trying to like give us emotional weight, but you don't feel any emotional weight coming from either one of them. It's just these weird barbs being thrown at each other. Beast being like pissy, and then Charles being like wounded. It's just, I don't know. We missed an opportunity here to really do something with Ty Sheridan. I don't know why the fuck Beast is all over this film. Like trying to like revenge his way through Raven. Ty Sheridan this should have been an opportunity for him to really elevate himself into the leader, the person that we're all supposed to see, but we never see that because we keep fucking seeing Nicholas Holt and Beast over there because he's like, I gotta take revenge from Raven, and there's only just so much screen time we have. So it never feels like Ty Sheridan ever gets a boost from the core values of this film. The other X-Men, Storm, Aurora Monroe, Alexandra Shipp, that character, the evolution from her being a villain in the last film to being a hero in this film was just kind of like, welcome, good to have you. It's just kind of interesting that the offer wasn't extended to any of the other surviving members of the, Four Horsemen. We just introduced cool characters in Apocalypse, and then we're like, nah. They're always so worried about the size of the X-Men, Like, we can't have other mutants. Like, there's a thing here where it's like, yeah, okay, so there are X-Men, and now you've created, like, generationally different X-Men, where some people have to be teachers, and leaders, and the other ones are like, younger and kids, and, like, learning to be. So why not use that, and have other people walking around? There's no reason that, like, Psylocke couldn't be walking around this film. Just saying. I mean, there's no reason for her to not be in this film. She's in the last one. There's just she survived. I think with Angel it's a little bit more ambiguous, but yeah. Anyway, action sequences, the train scene, I don't know, it's fine. And know, a lot of people talked about the train scene when this movie came out, and mostly people were just like, "Oh, the deaths. Oh, damn, Simon Kinberg went and started killing off people." Yeah, but the film kind of killed the franchise, so it doesn't really matter who lives or who dies in this. They're not going to continue it. It's just it's sort of like if Josh Trank's Fan Four Stick Fantastic Four movie. Um, if they had all died at the end of it, it doesn't really matter. You know, I mean, it's not like there's no sequel. That movie was terrible and nobody wanted to make a sequel to it. So, at least it would have been like a bold decision. Be like, well, oh wow, damn, they made one film and the entire Fantastic Four just dies at the end of it. This film sucks, but big swings. I guess Simon takes big swings here, but it didn't really matter because he's an incompetent director. And if, in case you're just wondering and you're like, oh, I mean, he's not a bad director. Watch the 355. This dude just has like, he has nothing to him. He feels like somebody that should just be directing TV episodes. Like, I bet he'd direct a really like fine episode of like The Equalizer. You know, he seems to like get action a little bit, and if the character's already established and all he has to do is get from point A to point B, and the scripts are being written by the same consistent people who have been writing scripts the whole time. I bet he could, you know, drop into these shows and he could be fine in TV. You know, stop giving him films. It's just there's really nothing good here. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing exceptional. The actors try to make the most out of the moments because they're good actors. Except for that one scene, I really I don't think there's another scene where I was like, ugh, this is really bad. Um, Most of the rest of the acting in the film I thought was really good. When Jennifer Lawrence is trying to you know, do her little speech towards Jean, she feels so out of place because they did this thing with Mystique in this franchise, and it's just like, but this is Mystique. Like, what are we doing here? You know, like, can it be anybody else? Can she just take? I know she's Jennifer Lawrence, but can she just take a step back? Like, why is Mystique leading the X? At what point has Mystique ever led the X-Men? You know, other than this film franchise. This is so weird. Her power set is cool. It's not leadership cool. Like, like it's so bizarre. Anyway, um, yeah, I thought Jennifer did a really nice job with that scene, and she had just the amount of dramatic weight for it, and that's good. Um, Even Jessica Chastain in her shitty. This is the worst role of her career, easily the worst role of her career. Um, just even in her crappy role, her line readings are fine. Like her line readings, she has a nothing role that goes nowhere and is totally pointless because she's never the main villain. She's supposed to be like somewhat terrifying, and she has these encounters where it's like, oh, she feels like the shit could pop off and she could go off the rails at any moment. She never feels like the main villain of this film because she can't be, because it's Dark Phoenix. So it always feels like the focus has to stay on Jean Grey. So it's like, why are you even here? They should have introduced you as sort of like a much more neutral figure, like Lalandra and the Shi'ar, who are looking for the Phoenix, trying to track down this like world destroying entity. Um, Run in with Charles Xavier, and then the X-Men and maybe the Shi'ar Galaxy team up to, you know, try to find, and then they realize, oh shit, the Shi'ar are willing to destroy. They're basically willing to do what Magneto is willing to do at one point in the film, which is destroy Jean to destroy the Phoenix. And then that can create the conflict. But there's no reason for them to be scary at the beginning of the film because they're not the main villain. They're just this thing that happens that was thrown into the film because Simon Kinberg just has no idea what he's doing in life. Yeah, this film actually makes Brett Ratner's X-Men Last Stand look good, because we were all bitching about how they handled the Dark Phoenix saga there. We're like, ugh, what is this? You know, I mean, still that film does have her like randomly just killing off Cyclops just for the sake of the fact that James Marsden was in Superman Returns. So it's a little bit hard to ever put anything above that, but it's probably the worst moment across the franchise. That and making the Merc with a mouth mute in X-Men Origins Wolverine. Probably the two singularly worst decisions the X-Men franchise has made. But as far as like a film, man, this has no joy. It's sort of like joyless. It's dark, and yeah, Dark Phoenix is dark, and it just doesn't have any happiness or life or fun, or there's no cool like Quicksilver scene or anything like that. It's just this film that it's not a happy film, man. I don't know. I don't enjoy watching it. It doesn't have memorable stuff in it. The scenes, it doesn't have really anything with cool powers where I'm like, wow, this scene is super dope, or this scene is really memorable. Or that's a cool way to do that with that power, you know, like that kind of stuff. It doesn't really have any of those things. It just kind of feels like the sequel that never should have happened. So yeah, that's that. Audio description wise, like I said, I don't really remember Dazzler. I've been critiquing this franchise because in previous films with audio description, they're doing it by the old standard of, if a character's name is not used, we're not going to name them, which is very unfortunate. And as I've pointed out before in X-Men First Class, you know, with Riptide, he is named in the credits. So it's just weird that they just constantly just describe what he looks like standing there. I know he's just kind of like a throwaway. They picked him because of his power set, and then they didn't give him anything to do except stand there. But he's in a significant amount of the film, and it would have been better for him to just have a name so that comic book fans would have known when watching this film initially. For me, it was, I'd already seen the film. I already knew what the dude looked like. You know, it was back when my sighted days, so I didn't have to think about stuff like that. I just looked at it, I was like, oh, okay, I get this. And that was also why I had the same problem in X-Men Apocalypse with Jubilee, which she looks like Jubilee. I mean, they went out of their way to make her look like Jubilee, and then she even is in the cast list, like up at the front before the scroll. They put Lana Condor in the like in with everybody else as if her role was that significant. It says Lana Condor Jubilee, and he even reads it in the credits. So the fact that we never acknowledge that it's Jubilee is really dumb. This stuff is dumb, guys. It just is. I don't care the rule that people came. It doesn't. It's like one of those rules that somebody came up with, but they didn't come up with any, like, unless this, or if this happens, then this. It's just like a rule. And nobody really thought about any other situations in which there might be a reason to not follow that rule. They just decided instead, oh, well, this is what we're going to do. And they've stuck to it, whether it makes sense or not. So this film, like I said, Dazzler's cameo just doesn't really matter. I don't know. I literally just hate watch this film sometimes. This is only my second time watching it. I didn't like it the first time. Didn't like it the second time. I honestly did not pay enough attention. I forgot Dazzler was in here, and I forgot to pay attention to her scene. Don't know if they say Dazzler or not, so I won't critique that. Otherwise, I thought Deluxe's description is fine, which it is. I mean, the rest of the description is fine. Just when there are these little cameos, name them. Dazzler's a pretty big mutant for the X-Men franchise. So is Jubilee. Riptide not so much, but yeah, he was there because they needed his power set. Yeah, just name them. Anyway, this has the added boost of the fact that there's some joy that I get out of watching anything X-Men that is ever featured in film. So it's going to skew it more positive in my grade than it probably should. But this like I said, this and X-Men Origins Wolverine are battling for the bottom. And I'm going to give Dark Phoenix a C+. Probably if it wasn't an X-Men film, or if I wasn't an X-Men fan, would be lower, because it's really hard to find things to actually give it that positive rating, that plus. Like, what is it? I don't know. The actors are mostly okay in this. I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. So that completes the X-Men films. What I'm going to do now is I have a couple of choices, and I have the Wolverine films. I have Deadpool films, and I also have New Mutants. I'm pretty certain I'm going to do New Mutants first, just because it's this really like odd film that just it's kind of by itself before I start into the Wolverine films. So my next review should be New Mutants, unless I feel like jumping into X-Men Origins Wolverine, which would be next. So I will see you guys on the other side.